all of us work virtually. And today, unfortunately, I'm facing some connectivity issues. I'm not able to switch on my video. So welcome, Mr. Rishi Kapal, for the
Thank you.
session.
Am I
Let
audible?
me give. Yes, sir, you're audible. You're audible. So let us, students. This is a wonderful opportunity that you have today with you, because we have a speaker who has experience in various industries, and his expertise, I would say, is one of the expertise is into entrepreneurship. A very rare, I would say, a phenomena, a very rare skill, which we try to inculcate in our students. So my humble request to all the students who are here for the seminar, for the webinar, is to extract maximum from sir's varied and rich experience. So let me give a quick introduction of Mr. Rishi. He is Stanford lead alumni and a career coach. He is the author of highly acclaimed entrepreneurship book Kites in a Hurricane and a medical crime thriller Miasma. Mr. Rishi Kapal is a speaker at United States headquartered in New York, a Stanford lead alumni and an author of 5 books. Mr. Rishi Kapal is currently the managing partner of Global Scale Up Singapore, a company specializes in scaling up early stage ventures created by corporate professionals and supports to raise funds. He is an acclaimed performance coach. Mr. Rishi conducts interventions on critical analytical thinking, career translations, outplacement, and performance management. From 1993 to 2014, that is over 2 decades, Mr. Rishi has held strategic and operational roles in various industries such as Sony, Qualcomm, Ericsson, Castrol, Avaya, and HCL. He is a recipient of several awards and accolades for his professionalism and speed of execution. Mr. Rishi has traveled and learned from global journeys, speaks and moderates at international forums. He has co-authored research papers with laurels of Oxford University at IIT Kharagpur. Academically, Mr. Rishi is a coveted Stanford Lead Program alumni. He holds a master's degree in marketing management from Pune University, post-graduation in management from IMI, graduation in electronics engineering from D.Y. Patil College of Engineering, Kolhapur, Shivaji University, and he is also a law graduate, having completed schooling from DPS RK Puram, New Delhi. With taking not much of the time of my students and all the participants, I once again welcome Mr. Rishi Kapal for this wonderful webinar, and I hand over the session to Mr. Rishi. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So one is that I'm very happy and grateful that all of you are able to listen to me clearly because, as ma'am mentioned, technology sometimes does not work in favor of everyone. So I just hope that it helps us both. And it's your time which is precious as students and as head of corporate placements and the team. So it is important that if you can ask me a lot of questions, I'll be able to relate it to your career. So I graduated out of D.Y. Patil College of Engineering and Technology in 1993 from Kolhapur, and I do not know if anybody of you have actually gone to that campus or not. And after that, I started working with HCL and then moved to various companies. Some of you will have to be on mute. There's a lot of noise coming from the background. And then in the year 2014, after I became the managing director of a company called Sony Ericsson. You would have known the company. We used to make mobile phones. In 2014, I became a full-time professor teaching in some colleges in Pune. And then I started helping entrepreneurs. So I would have helped almost 70, 80 companies to become globally renowned. And I fundamentally believe that if anybody of you makes entrepreneurship a career of choice, you will be able to not just create an ecosystem of hiring people for jobs, but also developing products and solutions which are needed by this country. That means we can be relying less on imports and being able to be self sufficient. So I'm going to take 20, 30 minutes maybe to make you go through a presentation. And during the presentation or after the presentation, if anybody of you has any questions, feel free to talk to me. I live in Baner in Pune, and I help students transition into various careers. So if you want to connect with me, I will leave you with my credentials after the session is over. So I'm just going to screen share and show you certain slides. Just hold on for a minute. Okay. In case at any point of time it is not visible to you, just let me know. Otherwise, I will assume that you all are able to see the screen. So, the entrepreneurship as a journey always starts with what idea do you have on which you want to start your business venture or your entrepreneurial journey. So, I wrote a book around 4 years, 3 years ago called Kites in a Hurricane, which specialized in how to become a successful entrepreneur. And the second chapter of that book is called The Difficulty of Being a Good Idea. And this is what I start with whenever I'm talking to students about entrepreneurship. As a career, what I do now, I work with a lot of startups for strategy, growth, and fundraise. I work with them between 18 to 36 months, give them access to multiple markets in the world, and help them get the right people and processes in place. Right now, the companies that I have are in the space of health, education, energy, social impact, enterprise tech, retail tech, and aviation. Why I'm sharing this with you is that while one part of it is about what kind of work I do, but if anybody of you is aspiring to intern with these kind of companies, your placement department can always reach out to us at Global Scale Up, and we can see if anybody of you who's interested in the technical work in these spaces can even be absorbed as interns or maybe have a long term career in due course of time. So when you graduate, and this is where my life as a graduate also comes when I graduated from DY Patil, there are basically four types of careers that you can have. It is called the CDEF way of evaluating careers. The first is becoming a corporate employee. So you basically interview, give your GDs, do your PIs, and become a corporate employee. This is after graduation. The second work which people do after graduation is that they don't stop studying. They are called degree bundles. So they will do their masters and they will do their PhDs and then eventually join research organizations. The third career that you have is entrepreneurship. And there are four ways to enter into entrepreneurship. One is you can join an entrepreneurial company or you can join a startup. Second is you can become an entrepreneur. That means you basically start your own company. The third is after 10, 15, 20 years of experience, you start mentoring entrepreneurs. And the fourth is you start investing in entrepreneurs. So, in various stages of your life, you can enter the entrepreneurship ecosystem. The best is, or the earliest is to join an entrepreneur and learn, or you become an entrepreneur yourself. Then, after 10, 15 years of experience, you can mentor entrepreneurs. And if you have some money, you can invest in them. The fourth career is freelancing. The only difference between freelancing and entrepreneurship is that in freelancing, you do not create a team, you do it yourself. So you will convince people that you have a particular quality or a particular technical skill, and then you have to deliver that skill also. So in freelancing, your reputation is very, very important. So generally, when you are doing some work in your career, you are either a corporate professional, either you are studying more for better opportunities, you are into entrepreneurship, or you are into freelancing. If there are none of these four, that means probably at that time you're not doing anything. So, why is there such a commotion or discussion in starting an entrepreneurial journey? What happens is that all of us can be entrepreneurs, but the trouble is, which is that idea which will become an opportunity? Everybody has hundreds of ideas, but an idea is as good as how much can you convince somebody that your idea is relevant or your idea is important. Sitting at home, I get multiple ideas in a day. You might be getting multiple ideas in a day. But if there is nobody willing to pay for your idea or whatever you have created, that means it doesn't become an opportunity. So there's a lot of research that is needed, whether you are working on artificial intelligence, machine learning, whether you are working on mechatronics or quantum computing. There are multiple ideas, but as long as you are able to create an opportunity from that idea and you are able to communicate this to the other people that, hey, I've got an idea. This is the opportunity for which people will pay for the idea. And I'm going to inform to the people in a particular manner. Your entrepreneurial journey predominantly starts. Now, what does it need to be an entrepreneur? There are two things that are needed to be an entrepreneur. One is patience, and the second is the ability to take risk. So you will be validating or creating multiple ideas, and one of that idea will become an opportunity. What happens with people at a student age or even at a young age in entrepreneurship? Sometimes they have one or two failures, and they become disheartened or they believe that they're unsuccessful. But it does not work like that. So your past experiences should not trick you to say that since it did not work as the last idea, my next idea will not work. You will have to keep on taking those ideas to the market. And as long as the market is able to say, yes, I'm going to use whatever you have created, your entrepreneurial journey starts. So you need patience and you need a lot of partners to be able to go through the entrepreneurial journey. Now, there are some 8 to 10 stages in an entrepreneurial journey. And we say that everybody needs multiple legs, multiple arms, ears, eyes, tongues, minds, and noses when you become an entrepreneur. Because at the same time, you will have to work on your product or service also. At the same time, you're talking to the market also. At the same time, you're talking to developers also. And one person cannot do everything. So the first element in which you are able to start an entrepreneurial journey is to have an idea which you should convert into an opportunity. So I'll give you, say, a small example. There is a company which is in Delhi. It is called Simulanis. You can Google about it, Simulanis. This person did his master's from Manchester University in chemical engineering, and he started working in chemical plants. And what he realized is that everybody who joins a chemical plant gets into a very hazardous environment. Chemical plants and pharma plants are not very safe immediately. So he started to think, how can I train people to get into plants which are hazardous in nature, which are in oils and chemical, which are in gases, which is in pharmaceuticals. So he started talking to people that if I create a product or a training program in which you people can be trained before going to a hazardous site, will you be willing to paying for it? So many people said it is possible and we can pay for it. And eventually, he created a company which is called as Simulanis, which trains people through augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality for working in places which are hazardous in nature. So people, when they go into plants, are already trained in virtual reality. They understand how the plant will be, what will be the kind of setup and layout over there. So you can look at simulanis.com. So he had an idea where he thought he can avoid people getting injured in plants if they're untrained, and he converted that into an opportunity. An opportunity is something for which people would like to pay for you. Then comes the third stage, which is called pivoting or minimum viable product. When you're at a student stage, you will not be able to take a lot of money from people to create the final product. So what happens is you create a product which is very crude in nature. You may know it as a prototype. And that crude product or prototype is then taken to the customers and asked in case the features or the services.
Rishi,
Yeah.
Rishi, I'm so sorry. I think your screen is not visible.
So I got a message in between that somebody else has started a screen share. So maybe due to that it is happening.
Okay. So if you can just reshare it.
Yeah, I'll share it again. But I just got a message in between that somebody else has started sharing.
Okay.
Till what slide could you see it?
It was till entrepreneurship, the second slide, I think.
So the bullets were not visible.
Bullets were there. After bullets, there was another third screen, which was not visible.
Was this visible?
Yeah, this was visible.
Yeah, so I was talking on this only. In case
Yeah,
again it happens, just let me know. So
yeah,
I keep on getting messages where somebody else becomes, starts to share their screen. So I do not know whether
yeah. Now
it
it is visible. You can continue with the session.
okay. So let's look at pivoting. So pivoting is where you create a minimum viable product and you try to take it to the market to see if that product works or not. So I will go back to the Simulanis example. So before becoming a virtual reality company, Simulalis was an augmented reality. And if I'm talking about things which you may or may not know at this point of time, just Google about augmented reality and virtual reality and you will come to know about it. So what he created is before creating the virtual reality training solution, he started creating textbooks on technology which had augmented reality in it. What that means is that you can actually open the textbook and show your mobile phone, and the augmented reality app will make it live and productive. So that was his first minimum viable product, which he took to the market. And people started telling him that it will be very difficult for them to carry these books with them when they need the training. So immediately he saw that his minimum viable product was not getting a fit from the market in terms of acceptance. So they wanted to be trained. They wanted to be trained before going into the hazardous environment, but they did not want to get trained through augmented reality and textbooks. So what he did is he went back, he created a new product which was in virtual reality where you use the VR headsets. And then he went back to the market again, and that product started getting acceptance. And once it started getting acceptance, he completed the code, he created the finished product, and eventually he even won awards from Mr. Arun Jaitley, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, on the amount of work he had created. So you create a minimum viable product, which is not a complete finished product, and you start showing it to people. Whatever people accept, you come back and complete that, and that makes your product market fit. Once you get your product market fit, you will need people, because right from you being an engineer, you may need people from a business background, from a finance background, from a customer acquisition background, from supply backgrounds, from logistics background, and all this cannot be done by one person. So at that point of time, you go and find the right people you want to work with. Some of them become co-founders, or some of them become your core team members. The element of people is very, very critical, because having the right people can immediately take you to the market faster. Not having the right people can slow down your strategies a lot. So these five elements put together are very, very well understood from the engineering perspective. So if you talk to any engineer who wants to become an entrepreneur, developing an idea into an opportunity, doing coding, prototyping, maybe creating some half finished robots as product market fit, minimum viable products and product market fit, and then having the right people is very well understood. The difficulty starts when you have to market it to the consumers. And we as engineers are not marketeers by default. So I am an electronics engineer, and my core competence became telecommunications, but I had to learn marketing. And if I have to learn marketing, I have to study it, or I need somebody in my team who knows marketing. So the difficult part starts from here, because it might sound very boring, but marketing is done in five different ways. And you have seen all five of them. One is that you need to do advertising. You don't have immediate money to do advertising on television or advertising on radio or advertising in newspapers. So you create flyers, leaflets, pamphlets, and brochures, and you try to give it to the market. Now, when these things are created by entrepreneurs, many people feel that everything should be done digitally. But maybe you have consumers who are not digitally friendly. Maybe you are creating something for people who cannot afford a mobile phone or cannot afford a smartphone for that matter. They will be more dependent on marketing on leaflets, brochures, flyers, and the pamphlets which goes into the newspapers. So that is one part of marketing. Then the second part of marketing is called PR and publicity, in which you start writing on LinkedIn, start writing blogs, and trying to convince people that what you're creating is the right thing for the market. The third thing is sales promotion. Sales promotion means, as an entrepreneur, you should know what discount to give to which person. So today, if I tell an entrepreneur I need two products from your company, maybe he will say two products you take on list price. But the entrepreneur should know that if somebody is asking for 10 products, maybe I need to give that person a discount. So that is called sales promotion. That when somebody asks for more quantity, how will you give that person more discounts so that he's able to take the product from you? And that is the strategy which a lot of people miss when we are engineers by default, which is in the pricing domain. After doing sales promotion and doing PR and publicity and advertising, we need to do personal selling. What that means is when entrepreneurs cannot afford their own teams, you have to sell yourself. And again, the way we are as engineers, we are not salespeople by default. But you consider entrepreneurship as giving birth to a baby. If it is your own child, you will do anything for that child. So don't get into the psychology of saying, I'm an engineer and I cannot sell. 90% of the people in technology companies who are sales and marketing people are all engineers. So once you have sorted your marketing, so that is in sales, personal selling, and last is digital marketing. Many of you would know about SEO, SEM, CPC, PPC, Google AdWords, email marketing. That all happens. So you create the idea, find the right opportunity, create a crude product, test that prototype. If the product gets accepted from the market, you get the right people to work with you, and then you do the marketing strategies. After doing that element, sales starts. And sales is revenue. If you have created something very good, but you are not able to sell it, the company will not survive. So you have to ensure that you are talking to the right people to sell. And selling can happen directly to the consumer or it can happen to corporates. So you can go and read about B2B marketing or B2C marketing, that you can actually sell online to people directly or offline to people directly. Like in Chroma and Reliance, you will see people selling a lot of stuff. Uh, or you can sell to corporates. Like if I have to sell something to your college, it is a B2B sale. If you have done all this, most of the times you will be running out of money. And that is where people go to investors. So then you go to investors, and most of the times, investors are strangers. So the work from idea to revenues is done by entrepreneurs by taking money from friends and family. Father will give, mother will give, uncle, aunt will give. So these people give some money, and entrepreneurs start working in the colleges. After you have reached a certain level, maybe it is like 20, 30,000 rupees per month of revenue, you will have to ask other people for money. And you should think about this very clearly, that if you go to stranger for money, why should he give the money to you? It is like you putting yourself in his own shoes to say, आपसे कोई पैसा मांगने आ रहा है, and that person doesn't know you. You have to convince that person that I am very honest, I am trustworthy, and my company will make money for you. So you put yourself in his shoes and say, if somebody comes to me and says, give me 10 lakh rupees and I want to put it in business, why would you give it? And that exact question is something that you have to answer when you go to investors. And I've seen people in third year, final year of engineering actually going to investors because they had some very good ideas which are liked by the investors. The fifth element is inflection. Inflection means that if you are in a regular sales, or maybe first month you have done 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, that is linear. If you break the linear curve and you go inflection, that means it is 2x, 3x of what you were doing earlier, then it is generally a confidence building measure for people to say, yes, I think my company will not die down now. And it takes more or less 9 to 12 months for people to believe whether the inflection is coming or not. And if all of these works are done very, very well, you should look at global markets. So I went to Malaysia and I went to, so it was in Malaysia and Singapore that I was taking some presentations from some students who wanted to be entrepreneurs. And to my surprise, and I'm really, really very happy that it happened in the student life, students had presentations which said, I am in Singapore, but how will I go outside Singapore in 2 years? In Malaysia, students had presentations to say, I have an idea. I will develop this idea in Malaysia. I will launch this idea in Malaysia, but how do I go to India? So every student who wants to be an entrepreneur should believe that his company or her company can be globally relevant. It's not restricted to a particular state, not restricted to a particular region, not restricted to a particular country. So we have, a company which I'm working with. It's in the healthcare space. The founder Ashish is living in Canada. The second founder Arvind is living in India, and their business is in Bangladesh, in Singapore, in Indonesia, in Middle East and India, because they believed that if they start a company, that company can work in multiple markets and in multiple geographies. So That conviction should start at a young age, where you are 20, 21, 22 years of age right now, probably. This is the time you need to believe that if I create something, I can do it globally. Like, for example, if you're trying to work in a company, maybe somebody joins Sony or somebody joins JCB, you should have that vision in the career also to say, if I'm in JCB Pune, one day I will be in JCB headquarters in UK. Or if I'm working in Sony today in Bombay, I will be one day in Sony headquarters in Japan. So that vision and aspiration at a student level has to be very, very relevant. So if you need to have entrepreneurial success, we have seen this in the last 7 years, whatever I have seen in the entrepreneurs, few things are very relevant. Point number one, that you need to understand how much do you want to be precise and how much do you want to be quick. So I knew a company in Delhi. I cannot name them because unfortunately they did not do well. Very young guys, 2 years out of college. They created a company, but they were refining the product to such a level. It took them 2.5 years to create the product. By the time somebody else did it before they could launch it. So you should know that when your product is almost ready for the market, you should go out. So डिसाइड बिटवीन स्पीड एंड प्रिसिशन रियल क्विक कि कितना मेरा प्रोडक्ट रेडी होगा जो मैं मार्केट में लेके जा सकता हूँ, rather than waiting and waiting and waiting. And you should know that what you are working on, somebody also somewhere is working on the same thing. That is point number one. The second thing is, we are not specialists. Like, for example, I am a sales marketing engineering specialist. I don't know anything in pharma and biotechnology. But since I'm working with a healthcare company, I went to specialists and started learning from them. So those are called venture partners. If you want to be successful, go to your faculty, go to people in the corporate access, come to people who have already been entrepreneurs and talk to them in confidence that what I'm doing something, whatever I'm doing, will it make sense or not? So in a limited capacity, in confidence, do it, because that brings me to the third point called stealth. Stealth means if you have not completed what you have done and you have not launched it in the market, don't start talking about it on social media, because there will be brighter minds who may want to do it better than you, faster than you, cheaper than you. So keep your work in stealth, limited circulation, and only talk to few people about it till the time you are fully confident कि मेरा अब product उस level पर आ गया है that if I tell it to others, nobody will be able to do it faster than me. And the fourth is, don't be a copycat. So half of the people I have met in the last 7 years as entrepreneurs were copying something which is happening in Israel, UK, US, and they believe that वहाँ पे हो रहा है तो copy करेंगे तो यहाँ पे भी हो जाएगा. But it doesn't work like that. We have been trying to bring a US company to India for the last 1 year, but what they're doing is, it's a product which teaches multiple languages, but they're not able to now capture the accent of Indians. So while the person believed sitting in US कि US में तो चल गया तो India में भी चल जाएगा, but we for sure know for the last 1 year it doesn't work like that. So don't become a copycat. Try originality. You can always be inspired with a lot of things. So Ola might have been inspired by an Uber, or Flipkart might be inspired by an Amazon, because the market space is too big. But if you're bringing small solutions which are not yet tried and tested in the other markets, becoming a copycat is also known to the clients, it's also known to the investors. So अगर आप investor के पास जाओगे, investor will tell you, boss ये तो हमने पहले कहीं पे देखा हुआ है. So for your entrepreneurial success, one, be agile and do it with speed. Second, deal with specialists and take their coaching and guidance. Third, keep it under the wraps in confidence till the time you do not, find it time to talk to others. And fourth, be professional and don't be a copycat. Okay. Now, if you are an entrepreneur and you are very successful in the Indian market, so maybe, somebody starts a company in the college and in the next 6 months, you are doing very good, then you need to target as an entrepreneur, where do you go next? So suppose somebody says, let's go to Nepal even, let's go to Bangladesh, let's go to Sri Lanka, or let's go to US. What you need to know is, वहाँ के laws कैसे हैं? So in India, you have the company's law, and the company's law tells you how to create a company, and your college would also be able to guide you on that. But if you're creating something which can go outside India, the law of the other countries is very different. The second thing is, you will know partners in India. Similarly, you'll have to find partners in other countries. The third is, what will decide whether you are successful in that country or not? So you'll have to decide, ye technology karunga, and if that technology is adopted, maybe I will find it good. Patience for hurdle hopping means that when you go to a country where you do not know people, the challenges will be bigger than what they are in domestic market. So that is hurdle hopping. And for that, you will have to have more patience. So India may have something, gave you 10,000 rupees in a month. Maybe it will take 3 months in another market. Those are your traction development difficulties. An appetite for constructive disruption means you may have to change the product. So for example, sometimes you have to change the language in which the product is created if it is a product which is more oral in nature. So you see a product called Miko, Miko. It's a small robot for children. Now Miko talks about in Hindi and English in India, but when it goes to Middle East, maybe it has to talk in Arabic. Whether it goes to Africa, it has to talk in Swahili or the Kenyan language over there. So I'm talking about this slide to you because, as I said, many students are already thinking about becoming entrepreneurs, not just for their home country, but also for the countries where they go and live, go and approach as they grow younger. So this is what I wanted to talk to you about. My book Kites in a Hurricane has all the case studies of the entrepreneurs which I compiled over the last 6 to 7 years. And yes, I wrote a crime thriller, and I'm writing the sequel to it right now. But I'll be more than happy to take some questions in case you have any questions, or if you want to think through your entrepreneurial journey. My LinkedIn and my email ID is mentioned on the screen. If anybody of you wants to talk to me for, say, interning with entrepreneurs or working with entrepreneurs or becoming an entrepreneur or taking a career transition, feel free to contact me, and I'll be more than happy and willing to take you through multiple entrepreneurial journeys. And this is what I wanted to probably talk in a format or a structure. Happy to take your thoughts if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request students to post their questions in the chat box, because it will be very difficult for us to unmute you, and if everybody starts asking questions. So please write your question in the chat box, and sir would answer your questions.
Yeah, in case anybody has a question right now, happy to answer it now. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn or give questions to your placement team, or you want to write to me on my email after going through what we discussed right now, I'm happy to take that as well.
Hirish sir, over to you.
Sir, on behalf of the students, one question in my mind. Just wanted to understand, being the student into the third year and in final year, what steps they need to check, and if say suppose they have some product in their mind, how to market the product and how to go ahead with the entrepreneurship, how to start their own business. This will be, I think, one of the question in students mind, because being a student into the engineering, sometimes they're not able to understand how to go ahead and what is the first step to start with the process.
Fair enough. So I have 3 more questions, so I'll just answer those in order and then come to your question. So Srirang has mentioned, is it necessary always to sign an NDA while outsourcing idea? So here is the case in point. If you're outsourcing an idea, I don't know what it means. So if you're outsourcing the coding of the idea, or if you're outsourcing the manufacturing of the product, you must get into an NDA. However, in India, NDAs are very weak. So you need a very good lawyer where you can sign an NDA with the partner to whom you have outsourced, who will feel that अगर NDA break किया तो jail हो सकती है. Otherwise, I have seen in this country, NDA is just a piece of paper. So you have to really be very clear. And it is for the reason many startups don't work, because they don't want to outsource because idea is very genuine and they don't have money to hire people. And in that situation, they sometimes get desperate and frustrated. So to answer Srirang Devakar's question, you must agree on an NDA, and there's an NDA and there is no compete. No compete means if somebody works with you and leaves you, then that person cannot do the same work for 2 years or 3 years. So if you can generally get the right lawyer who can refine the right NDA for you, do it. Otherwise, 90% of entrepreneurs in this country download NDAs from the internet and they are not applicable. The second question is from Ankur Singh. What is the scope of influencer marketing currently? Influencer marketing will always work if the influencer is right. So what happened is in COVID, and this is a real life situation, you would know 30-40% people probably have either gone to other jobs or they have been asked to leave their jobs. People with 10, 20 years of experience, many of them have actually started calling themselves as influencers, which is not right. So influencer market, if you are able to get it through the right influencer, always works. So it is called the psychology of learning and perception, that you always try to emulate, or you always try to copy the behaviors of somebody who's successful. And that is why you see celebrities are endorsing products. So influencer marketing is extremely relevant. Influencer marketing works a lot in entrepreneurship, but you should try to become an influencer yourself before looking at taking help of other influencers, because influencers will charge you money. The third question is, what should we do? Should we go for a job or further studies? It is very generic as a question, because it all depends upon where do you want to reach in your life. So if you've already made up your mind for further studies and then getting into a job, then the answer is very simple. But if you're trying to say that if I get a job in 6 months, it is okay, otherwise I'll go into further studies, it's not the right approach, because then you do not know what to learn. So many a times people do their masters because they could not get an opportunity, for a job. But when you do your masters, you realize that MBA was not for me. So to get into a job or for further studies is based upon what career aspirations you have. You want to start experience today, or you want to start experience after having a masters and getting into the corporate ecosystem. And for corporate transition, there is a full, scientific way that we can work on. And the Rushikesh Kadam is asking, are there any current internships available under any company? Many. So there are 4 or 5 sectors I'm going to narrate right now, which are not just doing strong in entrepreneurship, but also in hiring and internship. So it is education, e-commerce, energy, e-health, and entertainment. So all these 5 are becoming recession proof. And if you go to LinkedIn, you should spend at least 1 hour per week on LinkedIn, and you will find opportunities for internship as well as job opportunities. So that's available. And then I see people mention, is it necessary to have experience of corporate world to start entrepreneurship after graduation? Not at all. If you have the right mentors, the right coaches, and if your family is able to support you with some money, you can become an entrepreneur in your 3rd year of engineering. You don't have to actually go into the corporate world. If you want to just understand how entrepreneurship works, you can join an entrepreneurial company for 1 or 2 years, but it's not a prerequisite. I've seen both kind of people successful. A good business idea is important to start a good business. Are there any platforms where new business ideas or market demands are discussed or presented? There are millions of them, including Quora. But the fact of the matter is, ideas also get stolen on those platforms. Even on LinkedIn, business ideas get discussed. Quora, billion ideas get discussed. There are on Slack, some people have created groups. There are Telegram groups. But the moment you start to discuss ideas, somebody will also be watching you on what idea do you have. So you cannot just listen to ideas. If you don't contribute, people will not talk to you. But discussing ideas on groups is more difficult and dangerous. It is good to discuss ideas with co-founders, faculty, family, and core team members. And what is the future of cloud kitchens in India? Till the time we have a stomach, cloud kitchens are needed. The challenge is that today, cloud kitchens, what they create, people are questioning the hygiene and health aspect of it. So every company, even OYO has got into cloud kitchens. So earlier cloud kitchens were made regional in level. I knew people who were creating cloud kitchens in Hinjawadi, but now people who are funded by billions of dollars are into cloud kitchens. So unless and until you have a very unique food proposition, maybe you're getting into keto or you're getting into health foods, just see what is your differentiation in the cloud kitchen. And then people are talking about internship in cybersecurity system admin. Go to LinkedIn, look at internship opportunities, or your placement cell is extremely competent to give you those opportunities. I think these are all low-hanging fruits. You make it serious and difficult if you make a pledge today that, yes, today I'm going to at least work on a start up an entrepreneurial idea. Yeah, Hirish, can you so we were talking about the first step, okay? The first step is to talk to people. You have, as I said, every day the idea will keep on changing. You need to talk to somebody who can tell you which idea is worth exploring. That is point number 1. And second, just ensure that your father, mother, parents know that if you start your entrepreneurial journey, they will need to invest another 5-6 lakh rupees in you before something else can come up. So this is like extending your education, that I have got graduated as an engineer, but I need 6 months more to work on my entrepreneurial venture. Consider that you are paying 5-6 lakh rupees fees more for it. So the starting point always is to ensure your ideas are validated with the right people. And the second element is, if you have an idea which you cannot commercialize because of small money, it is extremely bad. So a lot of people are not able to become entrepreneurs because they did not plan for the first small money. So it's called the F and F money, which is friends and family money. So if you're working on an idea, talk to the right people and then talk to your friends and family that मुझे 6 महीने survive करने के लिए I need this money. If these two things are done, rest all can be taken care of. We can, work on positioning. We can work on marketing, and so idea, opportunity, MVP, PMF, and people. These 5 things in the order what I said are relevant. After that, the heavy lifting starts. Marketing hai, sales hai, operations and all those things. Yes, anything else I can answer?
Yeah, so there are some more questions that came into the chat box.
Yeah, so, okay. So there is this question, a lot of them, okay. Is there a right time to study psychology as a master's degree and later use this craft to move towards the market? Okay. So my daughter is getting into psychology and sociology. I am not a subject matter expert in this. So if you get into psychology, you should know what psychology and sociology will, take you towards. So at this point of time, uh, whether MBA is the best route or you actually can do certain certification courses from institutes who specialize in psychology, Ankur, I'm not the right person. I will not give an answer just because I have to give an answer. How will I find angel investors for my network? All angel investors are on LinkedIn. Some of them are on Facebook as well. As long as, or there are networks like us, we hunt angel investors for people. The day you are ready to, but you cannot have an angel investor saying that मेरे को पैसा angel investor से ही लेना है तभी मेरा business शुरू होगा. That will not happen. You will have to create some money of your own from friends and family, and then it happens. Any good case for create a good case study? A good case study is a story which is relevant for the audience, not for you. So there is a research paper and there is a case study. Both are very, very different. If you're creating an academic case study, it should have an hypothesis which you are testing. But if you're creating a customer case study, it is always customer in the center. The strategy in case studies is called the depression to delight strategy. That you first create the depression as to why the case study is relevant, what was going wrong, and you create a situation around it, and then you get the delight in the case study to say how did you improve the situation over there. So to create a good case study, there are hundreds of I would say advices, but for me it is about relevance to the audience, not to the person who's creating it. How can we tackle the kind of pandemic in the restaurant industry? We can see that COVID has affected our restaurant industry. What are the steps that we can take to be ready? So I do not know what is the impact in the dine in, because that is the only thing which is affected right now. My consumption of outside food has actually not changed because now home deliveries and takeaways are available. So as long as, so what happens, I'll tell you, earlier I used to order from any restaurant. Now I need to see whether it is following WHO sanitization guidelines or not. So the question is, you have to convince a consumer today that I will be able to give you food which is healthy and hygienic. More than that, the person who's going to deliver the food to you will come with full precautions. So as long as those things can be taken care of, you can still salvage a lot of business. But the hit that has happened is in the dine-in because people are not allowed to sit and eat inside. So in future, this is a government law because of which the food dine-in has stopped. In future, if the regulation does not allow it, you just cannot do anything about it. A lot of things, the same thing has happened to the gym industry, right? All gyms are closed. So what they have done, they have gone online. Educational institutes are closed. They have gone online, like we are having this session online. As long as you can reach the consumer in a healthy, hygienic, and clear way, you might not be in the okay. Sparsh has a very interesting question. Do we always need to file a patent before launching the product? No, you don't have to, because almost it's like 3 or 4% of the products are patentable. If you need to discuss a patent, you talk to me. I'll get you to a patent attorney, because sitting inside your college or in your house, you cannot decide whether your product can be patented or not. There are people who evaluate and say कि इसको file भी करना चाहिए. And a lot of youngsters waste money in filing for patents, not realizing ये patentable था नहीं. You don't have to always fight a patent. I just, out of the 10 companies which I'm mentoring right now, only 2 companies have patentable products. The rest 8 companies have products because they're running faster than the market. What are some mistakes that we should avoid? I think mistakes are a part of entrepreneurship. It's a cliche, but that's what it happens. The first mistake is don't change people very frequently. If you are trying to work with people, you cannot create teams, new teams every month, every year. So आपको ego control में रखना पड़ता है. Entrepreneurship is patience. You may have to learn through bad habits of others and live with that for the next 5 years, but you cannot change people very regularly. Second, If you believe in a product, complete it. A lot of people do multiple half-finished products and then come out and say, we could not do it. So one, believe in the idea and complete it. Second, don't change people very, very frequently. Software ideas are patentable. There are codes which are patentable, definitely. And somebody cannot copy the idea. If it is patented, anyway, you have a right. And second, if it is copied, if it is in some other world where you don't know. So if you want to ensure people don't copy your idea, you think you are going to take your product to 5 countries, get it patented in all the 5 countries. Don't only get it patented in India because somebody will copy it somewhere. Logos get copied. I was in Sony brand ki chappal bhi aati hai. We could not do anything about it because it was not worth our time. You will only become worth copying if you become successful. And at that point of time, if you're not trademarked or if you're not patented, then the game is open. Yeah, any other questions? My last question was that what tech skills can we work for the next 5 to 10 years to move into entrepreneurship? Technology is evolving. So when you look at the tech stacks today, whether you're on AngularJS or you say MongoDB or you look at the RPA tech sets, they did not exist 5 years ago. So these are tech stacks which will keep on changing and evolving. Nobody can give a prediction. So tomorrow, whether it is quantum or whether augmented reality or it's called the CX experience now rather than, it's called XR now, experience reality. It's highly unpredictable. But certain technologies in terms of being more closer to cognitive sciences will always be relevant. So the tech skills you'll have to upgrade every year. You cannot have a tech skill today which will be relevant for the next 5 to 6 years. Is the higher studies in the outside countries possible? It is very possible. So in UK, 10 universities will shut down if Indian students don't go to study abroad because 30% of their population was from India. So, I mean, I'm sending my daughter abroad. She has to graduate. She has to get into admission next year in September. But there are countries like Australia, New Zealand, who have actually gone beyond the pandemic. And they're pretty okay. So if you are able to find the right country where health is not a consideration right now, and they're allowing Indian students to come from next year, it's just there. Yeah, any other questions? They're very intelligent, relevant questions. I mean, some questions are such that everybody can benefit. So I'm really happy. I'm really, really very, very pleased with the intellect that the students are demonstrating in this batch over here. Amazing. Anything else I can help you with?
So I think, sir, the students who have asked you questions, they have, the key of becoming an entrepreneur. So I would request those students, I will really request those students, please get in touch with the placement cell. We can definitely get you in line with sir. Let us have a small idea. Probably we all will collaboratively help you to build that idea probably into a prototype. Let's start working on it. Placements is something which definitely, you will get it eventually, because students generally sit in a boat wherein, they want a job also, and they don't want to take a risk of being an entrepreneur. So my humble appeal to students who are here in this group, I can see plenty of them have left. So the 93 students who are there, 89 students who are actually listening to this talk, it speaks that you have that kind of intellect. So please get back to us. We will help you for sure, So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just one last parting remark. So the students, you must understand that you have a great ecosystem in placement and corporate relations, which never existed when I graduated. So I am a D.Y. Patil alumni, but we studied and we moved in the industry on our own. Today, you have options where your placement in charge and your placement team is actually making you think about entrepreneurship or freelancing. It's a blessing for you. So if you are able to take benefit of it, it is for all you to gain. Nobody else gains from it. But you look at, the world 20, 25 years ago, when people at my age were graduating, we just used to complete our final year exams and look for a job outside. There was no ecosystem. So I really respect the placement, and training ecosystems which are there in colleges like you, because they have to do a lot of work, which students sometimes don't realize how difficult it is. So my compliments to the department as well as to the students who aspire to be entrepreneurs. I had already shared my LinkedIn link. So if anybody wants to, talk ahead, I'm happy to collaborate.
Thank you so much, sir, for those motivating words.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rishi sir, and thank you so much for the entire insights which you have shared to the students.
No
And
problem.
I do remember, like it was a very quick decision from your end when I've just requested you if you can just give a talk to these students, and you said immediately yes. So thank you so much for the same, and thank you so much to all these students for your valuable time and for the questions which you've asked. And rightly said by Jasmita ma'am, if there's any more queries or if you want to have some more things, please get back to us. Please contact the TNP cell and we will help you out on the same. Thank you so much, Rishi sir, and thank you so much for sparing your time.
Thank you very much. Take care.